Old leaves blanket the garden, making no room for new growth. And so it feels like a curse to push through, a heavy burden of paper-thin things that have piled up from neglect. A million things to remember which one wishes to forget. A trampling which happened years ago stunts this year's crop, but the stems still shoot for the sky. A flower bent by the rocks in the soil is crooked, but all the more wonderful for having tried and lived. Welcome to Games in the Glade, a stress-free monthly gaming news and reviews podcast. I'm your host, Tina Kelly, and I'll be guiding you through some recent news in the gaming world, as well as telling you about a game I think you might enjoy. In this episode, I will cover the June Nintendo Direct, the Summer Games Done Quick, Summer Games Fest, and the Wholesome Direct. Then I'll get to your responses to last week's question about what games were your games of the year last year. And finally, I'll give my review of Vampire Survivors and finish up by asking you what games you've loved sharing with other people. Let's start off with the latest, biggest news. Nintendo had a Direct on June 21st that announced some huge hits, so here are the highlights. I tuned into the Direct with my brother watching it on my phone over breakfast, and I caught it right in the middle of the Super Mario RPG remake announcement trailer. And within seconds, my brother and I were both screaming. Super Mario RPG is a classic from our childhood, of course. We played it over and over again, reveling in the music, the claymation art style, and of course all of our familiar faces from the Mario franchise fighting alongside each other instead of against each other. To see it being remade in all its 3D glory for this generation is like the pinnacle of nostalgia for me. It seems like also they might be introducing some new things. There's a new kind of limit break looking wheel in the bottom corner of the battles. So I'm wondering if maybe there's like party combo attacks or limit breaks for each character. We will have to see. The game can be pre-ordered right now with the release coming November 17th of this year. Next up, Star Ocean, the second story, R, is getting the Octopath 2.5D treatment in a remake coming to the Switch November 2nd. This one got my brother's attention because he's a big Star Ocean fan, and this new remake comes with voice acting and beautiful character portraits. It features active battles and a rich pixel art style, so fans of the franchise and newcomers alike will find something to enjoy in this sci-fi RPG. Vampire Survivors is coming to the Switch August 17th. This one seemed like a no-brainer to me, so I'm honestly surprised it took this long, but the port also features 4-player co-op, which I hadn't anticipated. I'm thrilled to see it coming to the Switch, where I'm sure it'll find plenty of new fans. In other big news, we're getting a new 2D Mario side-scroller. I don't know why I'm so excited about this, because I don't really play Mario games, because I'm not a big fan of platforming, but there's something really appealing about this new announcement. Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks like a really imaginative take on the formula, with the new Wonder Seed power transforming the train when Mario collects it. Vertical pipes start gushing water, horizontal pipes like wiggle on the ground like worms. Mario and his enemies become taller or something. Or Mario can also transform into a spiky ball or a big elephant. But that's not all. Luigi, Toad, Princess Peach, and now also Princess Daisy are joining Mario in the fun. So this new Mario, looking forward to it. It comes out October 20th. WarioWare is getting a new title as well with WarioWare Move It, which features Joy-Con motion controls. So you will wiggle, punch, polish, and stomp your way through minigames, and up to 4 friends can play together in the board game party mode. It is coming out November 3rd. Pikmin 1 and 2 are available in HD right now on the Nintendo Switch, with Pikmin 4 on its way on July 21st. I played Pikmin 1 and 2 for the first time last year, so I'm really glad Nintendo is making them accessible to the public who may or may not have their very own GameCubes and Wiis on hand. And it is just in time for the release of Pikmin 4, as I mentioned, which features a few new modes, actually, like Dandori battles against a strange, leafy, very Olimar-looking Pikmin. Dandori battles are one-on-one battles for the fate of a rescued castaway on the strange planet that the Hokotate aliens are investigating. You have to strategically command your army of Pikmin to collect more items than your opponent during a timed battle in order to win. And Dandori battles aren't the only new feature for Pikmin 4. Now you can set out at night. Previously, it was too dangerous to explore at night because that's when the scavengers of the foreign planet would frenzy and gobble up all your stray Pikmin. Now, with the help of the ghost-like glow Pikmin, you can produce enough light to see what's going on at night and then defend their towers against the onslaught of animal attacks. It seems like Pikmin is really incorporating a bunch of new gameplay styles to keep it fresh. So I'm looking forward to the release, which is July 21st. In more Mario news, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which released for the 3DS back in 2013, is coming to the Switch in 2024, as well as a yet untitled but new Princess Peach game, which seems based on the theater and stage. I'm intrigued by this latter announcement because it might feature the princess in a more commanding role, hopefully, rather than her emotion-based DS game where she used the power of tears to solve many of her problems. Again, there's very few details on these games other than the fact that they'll both release in 2024. Detective Pikachu is getting a sequel for the Switch with plenty of voice acting, which I'm very happy to see. The game features the young Tim Goodman paired with the surly, coffee-drinking Detective Pikachu, solving Rhyme City's mysteries. The game is going to launch October 6th of this year. Dragon Quest Monsters, the Dark Prince, which is a monster battler, is coming to the Switch December 1st. It's been a while, actually, since the last DQ Monsters game released. The last one that came to America was apparently Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 2 in 2011. So luckily, it seems like this entry can stand alone, provided you're at least a little bit of a Dragon Quest fan. It features, of course, the Dark Prince as the protagonist who loses his power to fight and must command monsters to fight for him, Pokemon Trainer style. But in a way that's like Persona, you can combine monsters to create something new. The combat looks fun, and the story is sure to be enjoyable, as most Dragon Quest games are. It even looks like the legendary hero of Dragon Quest 1 might show up in this one. So, Dragon Quest Monsters releases December 1st. Finally, I have some news for oldies like myself who want to enjoy collections of games that they've already played, but on a new console. The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, interesting title, features Metal Gear, Metal Gear 2, Snake's Revenge, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, and Metal Gear Solid 3, and also concept art and also graphic novels, is coming to the Switch, surprisingly, October 24th. That's right, Metal Gear fans no longer need to drag out their PlayStation 3 in order to play these classic games. And along the lines of legacy collections, the Batman Arkham Trilogy is also coming to the Switch this fall. Okay, that is it for Nintendo news. There was a ton more games announced, so if you want to hear about the Pokemon DLC, or Mario Kart Wave 5 booster courses, or a bunch of really cool smaller games, you can watch the VOD of the Direct, which I will link in the description of this episode. Summer Games Done Quick took place May 28th through June 4th, raising over $2.2 million for Doctors Without Borders this summer. GDQ is always a good time and brings gamers together for a good cause. I cover GDQ when I can, but this year I want to try something different, inspired by the Yes Chef meme brought to you by the Overcooked and Ratatouille Run. I will be your speedrun sommelier this summer, recommending you some fine runs, a drink and/or snack, and an activity to pair them with. Let's begin. First off, Pizza Tower, run by Soaring Sloth. This was an impressive run of one of last year's breakaway hits, the fast-paced Wario Land-esque Pizza Tower. It's great also to see a couch with so much non-binary representation on it, showing how far the speedrunning community has come since the early days. This run really hyped up the crowd, so I would recommend putting it on takeout night so that you can turn off your brain, do some mindless chores, and reward yourself with some delicious pizza time. Next up, Verxel's Ring Fit Adventure Run at Intensity 30. This run was wild. Verxel blasted through World 1 in less than 20 minutes, doing so many ring presses, chair poses, and quick sprints, ending the run with a heart rate of 162. Kung Fu Fruit Cup was also on the couch doing commentary so that Verxel could run his butt off, and she did a great job of explaining the activity and the strats. I would recommend watching this run early in the morning with a protein shake before you take a walk around your neighborhood. Another run I would absolutely recommend is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, run by The Blacktastic, now known as Babe. Bobby is such a great runner who knows how to get the crowd excited, and this was a long-awaited run, not just because it's a great game and Bobby's a great showman, but also because the run was cut last GDQ due to time constraints. Bobby doesn't disappoint with this one, so I would recommend pairing this run with a tall glass of pomegranate juice in a large chalice as you paint your nails a very vampy color of crimson to really revel in the bloodstained vibes. Now, if you want to catch up on the hottest meme of the summer, you have to watch ADEF run Ratatouille, the game, of course, based on the Pixar film of the same name. ADEF treats this run like an audition for the Netflix drama The Bear, firing off kitchen lingo with his couch while he races through the rat-infested French kitchen. I would pair this run with a dry white wine, and of course, some Ratatouille, as we are nearing the season for aubergines and tomatoes. One run I really have to showcase because I wish more people would play this game is the Mega Man Maker run by Mega Marino. If you enjoy Mega Man or Mario Maker, this free fan game is for you. This run goes through some incredible levels themed after classic video games like Mario, Frogger, Metroid, Kirby, Bubble Bobble, DuckTales, Castlevania, and so many more. I would put this run on while you enjoy a charcuterie board, of course, sampling little treats all afternoon in the same way that this game samples from classic games. A run that I enjoyed that might surprise you was Titanfall 2 by Glade. That's right, I watched a first-person game for over an hour, and somehow I did not get sick. Granted, I also watched it on my phone where the screen is about 2 inches for the video. But regardless, I could not pull myself away from this run. It had some of the most incredible movement you will ever see in a speedrun. Bladen's speed and precision embodies the spirit of speedrunning. They go so fast and they nail dangerous tricks that would set lesser runners back by minutes. And on top of that, Brian Ato's commentary really brought the run to legendary levels with their enthusiasm. I would recommend pairing this run with a fruity seltzer and a lettuce-wrapped burger so that you can save time and get straight to the meat without all that extraneous bun stuff, much in the same way that Bladen ditches their Titan and just cruises through each level on foot. Last but not least, one run I rewatched a few times was Ice Plug's The Incredible Hulk run. Ice Plug keeps it chill in the commentary, explains strats effectively, and keeps the energy going all throughout the run, but you have to hear his original lyrics of Stage 2, aka Fake Rome. He had me singing, "Shake that booty butt, shake that booty butt," for a full week after watching him take down the Hulk in under 20 minutes. I would pair this run with some homemade coconut lime popsicles and an impromptu dance session in the early summer heat. Summer Games Fest took place earlier this June, and one of the biggest announcements of the festival was the release date for Spider-Man 2, featuring Peter Parker and Miles Morales, which is coming October 20th, 2023. PS5 title has the Spider-Man tackling Lizard, Venom, and Kraven the Hunter in New York, which now features Brooklyn, Queens, and Coney Island. The gameplay trailer for this game was so good that at one point when it transitioned from the cutscene to gameplay, I picked up my controller because I thought I was playing the game. So look forward to this one in October. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the second part of the trilogy, is releasing in 2024 on 2 discs. So this really is a throwback to old school gaming. For your information, of course, the PS5 uses 100 gigabyte discs, Blu-ray. So Rebirth might be huge. And also, for the record, the first part of the remake was released on 2 discs on the PS4, albeit PS4 discs are 50 gigabytes each. And of course, the original was on 3 discs. Thanks to ONS Good over at Polygon for that information. I will link to that article in the description of this episode. Another big reveal for the Summer Games Fest was the new Prince of Persia game, The Lost Crown, which will be a 2D Metroidvania game. This is a surprise to me, honestly, because I feel like 2D platformers are a bit of a rarity these days outside of the indie sphere, but it is cool to see a franchise like this continuing in the modern era. The release date for this Persian mythology-inspired romp is January 18th, and it'll be available for the Switch, PS4 and PS5, Xbox One and Series XS, PC, and also Amazon Luna, which I am pleasantly surprised to see games being released on. Thank you to Matt Perslow at IGN for that information. And continuing the theme of 2D classics getting sequels, Sega announced that Sonic Superstars will be coming later this year. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy will return in a side-scrolling, fast-paced platformer featuring 4-way co-op, which takes place on the North Star Islands. Sonic Superstars will bring back Chaos Emeralds, of course, but it'll have a new twist. Rather than collecting 7 to power up Sonic, each emerald has its own unique power, like creating clones of Sonic or giving you the ability to climb waterfalls. Thanks to Logan Plant at IGN for this information, and you will find a link to that article in the description of this episode. Lastly, in terms of big names returning, Alan Wake 2 got a gameplay reveal at Summer Games Fest, showing off their new protagonist Saga Anderson, an FBI agent that is investigating ritual murders in Bright Falls. Remedy Entertainment, the developer, of course, shined with their 2019 action-adventure fringe horror thriller Control, and the theme of the strange and unbelievable continues in their sequel to the cult classic, Alan Wake. The game will be digital only, surprisingly, releasing on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC October 17th of this year. Thank you to Taylor Lyles at IGN for that information. The summer of game announcements continues with the Wholesome Direct. Here are the indie games revealed this year that I'm most excited about. Starting, of course, with Spirit Swap, Lo-Fi Beats to Match 3-2. I feel like I've covered this one at some point, but, I can't remember, so let's talk about it anyways. Spirit Swap is a match 3 game with a ton of personality, featuring a diverse cast of characters. We're talking people of different nationalities, personalities, genders. They got it all. And from what I played of the demo a year or two ago, the gameplay is just as strong and enjoyable as the plot. I'm a simple girl, I see match 3 and cool witches, and I am sold. So, Spirit Swap is launching in 2023. Next up, Usagi-shima, which translates to Bunny Island. Do you remember 7 years ago when Neko Atsume was all the rage and folks spent days on end collecting cats on their phones? Yeah, that was awesome. Usagi-shima looks a lot like that, but with bunny rabbits. You collect them, dress them up, feed them, decorate the island that they inhabit, take pictures of them, and just kind of vibe with cute little creatures. I think I might have screamed when I first saw this game because it is just so cute. It'll launch on iOS and Android September 1st, 2023. Karma Zoo was a surprise hit for me. It is a cooperative platformer that can be played with up to 9 friends. You can be like a little spider who spins a web for their friends to climb, a llama who spits on their friends to make them sticky enough to climb walls, a self-sacrificing lion who can lay their tombstone over spiked pits and make it easier for the friends to get by, and a ton more creatures. I think this one's going to end up being a super fun party game. It releases this summer. I played the demos for Lakeburg Legacy and Smooshie Come Home during Steam Next Fest earlier this year, and both games got coverage during the Wholesome Direct. Lakeburg Legacies is a kingdom-building game with a unique romantic twist where you match villagers together so that they'll produce love together, an important resource. Loving couples build a life together, working better at their jobs, raising their own kids, but there is an interesting visual novel element to Lakeburg Legacies that I ran into during the demo, where drama can arise when coworkers or friends try to drive a wedge between the loving couple. Lakeburg Legacies will release on July 20th of this year. And Smooshie Come Home might have you thinking, wait, isn't it Shumi Come Home? Yes, it was actually, but earlier this year the creator Some Humble Onion had to change the name for legal reasons, so I'm reintroducing you to Smooshie Come Home, the adorable adventure game about a cute little mushroom who's lost in the woods. I had a blast playing the demo, gliding on leaves and jumping on mushrooms, so I know that this cute, cozy game is going to be good. It released on June 12th of this summer, so if you're looking for a game that feels like a hug from a little creature, this one is for you. One game that absolutely electrified me this Wholesome Direct was BC Ball, which looks like if you cross Pokemon with volleyball. Right off the bat, I fell in love with the creature design of the game. It captures that sense of familiar animals mixed with kooky colors and strange designs that original Pokemon kind of had going on. You gather a team of BCs in order to challenge other characters to BC Ball battles, and as your team plays together, they develop relationships. Your creatures can become partners with each other, rivals, besties, and even sweethearts. And as their relationship grows, they learn unique combo plays to execute together. I love this take on monster battles, which are usually one-on-one, but Beastie Ball makes it a true team battle where your team dynamics come into play. I think of it as a little bit Pokemon, a little bit Miitopia, that 3DS Switch game where you take a team of characters and they have unique different personalities and they forge relationships in battles. And as I browsed the Kickstarter for this game, I found something that locked me into it immediately. It's made by the same team who made Chicory and Wandersong. Yes, Chicory, my game of the year a year or so ago. The incomparable Lena Raine, who did the soundtrack for Chicory, Celeste, has done tunes for Minecraft, Deltarune, and Steven Universe the movie, is working on the OST, so I just know this game is going to be amazing. This might be the game I am most excited about this year. There's no official release date for it yet because it's still in development, but I am happy to wait for this game as long as it takes. Lastly, the final game announcement that caught my eye was Everdeep Aurora, a 16-bit adventure starring a very cute cat in a cape named Shell. She has to dig through dungeons to find her missing mother during a meteoric apocalypse. What I loved about the trailer for this was its Game Boy Color aesthetic, a simple but refined color palette that makes figuring out what you can interact with and navigate very easy. I think this is going to be a great little game. No release date for it yet, but if you wishlisted on Steam, you'll know when it's out. There were a ton more games covered in this Wholesome Direct, so if you would like to watch a VOD of that, I will link it in the description of this episode. Last episode, I asked you all what were your games of the year. I asked about overall game of the year, best indie, best AAA, or even your favorite made-up categories. Now, I do have a little bit of bad news. Due to the recent changes in Twitter, if you replied on Twitter, unfortunately, those responses are just gone. There's no responses to the tweet, and I can't find anything using the GITG Asks hashtag, so I really truly apologize. I think I left the Twitter account inactive for so long that it didn't track replies anymore. But I do have some responses on the Discord, thankfully, so let us get into those. Quantum Witcher said that their game of the year for 2022 was Elden Ring. They wrote, "As an avid fan of the Soul series, Elden Ring was the ultimate culmination of everything I enjoyed about the games and much more. Gaming preferences are of course quite subjective, however, I believe FromSoft managed to create one of the highest quality games of all time, and it was again the best gameplay experience I've ever had by some distance. Only Persona 5 Royale came within sight of Elden Ring, however, it had the misfortune of me getting to its best parts only in 2023. Thank you for that, Quantum. As I am currently playing through Elden Ring, I must agree with Quantum here. I feel like it is the culmination of all the Souls games, taking themes, concepts, gameplay mechanics, and more from all the Soulsborne Nekiro games, and transforming them into the greatest that they can be. Quantum continued that their most emotionally impactful game of the year of 2022 was Persona 5 Royal. They had said it had been some time that I had properly cried in a video game, what a special ride that game proved to be, and a special start to a hopeful new year. While I haven't played the Royal expansion of Persona 5, the original was a powerful game with some wonderful characters who, when I had beaten the game, I missed dearly. I think that's probably why Persona 5 keeps getting spin-off games. Finally, Quantum proposed a new category, the year-defining game of 2022, which they said was Final Fantasy XIV. They wrote that Final Fantasy XIV was the surprise of a lifetime for me, and my life is miles better for it. I have found a great story and many characters to connect to, an aspect of challenge I never knew I would dig so hard, a way to meet and connect with some great new people, and a platform to further bond with existing friends. The massive platform that Final Fantasy XIV is the gift that keeps on giving. And honestly, I don't think I could put it better myself, Quantum. You covered everything that makes Final Fantasy XIV great. Harmless Iterator also chimed in on the Discord saying that Tunic was their game of the year hands down. First off, they said that the music was so delightful that they wanted to feature it at their wedding. And to touch on the experience of playing it with their fiancé, who is now their husband, they wrote, "It's so hard to find a game that incorporates both of our video game interests. For me, if it doesn't have story, secrets, and deep consideration, I'm not touching it. For my fiance, if it doesn't have combat and a leveling system, he won't care. Not only does Tunic have both, but it intertwines both in such a way that we both started to enjoy the aspects of the video game that the other enjoys. I liked figuring out how to evade and optimize strength, and he became more involved in the story and the secrets than ever before. I think it's so beautiful, Harmless, that you two grew to see the game from each other's perspective and enjoy it more thoroughly that way. I have a ton of fond memories of playing video games with my loved ones that played out very similarly. I think when you play games together, you can shine a light on things that somebody else might look over. Another cooperative part of the game that Harmless Iterator tackled with their fiancé was deciphering the language of Tunic. They wrote, "At first the cryptography seemed overwhelming, but after breaking down the fundamentals, the translation quickly became one of the most enjoyable aspects of the game. My fiancé and I divided labor, each of us specializing in one of the two language elements, and after a few days of study became fluent. My favorite experiences were the ones where one of us realized the correct word while the other was mid-vocalization. The 'whoa, nice job' moments, interspersed with absolute nonsense sounds, were simply unmatched." I had a similar experience, interestingly enough, to Harmless Iterator. When I got the game, the fine folks at Finji had also sent me a small partial copy of the in-game manual. When my brother got his hands on it, he immediately wanted to crack the code of the language. We had puzzled out some of it together over Discord over the course of playing the game, and as I played the game on stream, chats also would help me sound out the words and figure them out too. Even my father was inspired by the language. Finji, in addition to giving me that little in-game manual, gave me a wooden pen inscribed with the Tunic word for wisdom on it, which to my dismay disappeared one day from the dining room table. And then a day later, my dad brought it to me saying he had found this incredible artifact with ancient language written on it. I had learned the language enough to decode it with him by then. I think the language aspect of Tunic is so alluring that it solidifies it as my game of the year as well. So I want to say thank you so much to the two of you for your responses to last week's question, and a sincere apology again to everybody whose replies were lost. I will do better to keep track of them in the future. On to the review. This episode, I'd like to tell you about a game that I have sunk more time into than I'd like to admit. When I first heard about Vampire Survivors, it was kind of a niche game. Somebody in my chat had mentioned seeing another streamer play a game that destroyed its bitrate and practically made the stream unwatchable. There was a ton of stuff on the screen. I thought to myself, that doesn't sound like my kind of thing. Unwatchable? Too much stuff on the screen? It was far down on my list until I watched somebody else play a little bit of it. They started picking up blue gems. I saw them open up a treasure chest that had a bunch of items fly out of it in a rainbow of colors, and I thought to myself, wait, where's that email with the key for Vampire Survivors in it again? Thank you again, by the way, to the folks at Future Friends for the key for Vampire Survivors, the game which my brother and I became very quickly, very deeply invested in. Vampire Survivors, which was developed by Ponkel and published in 2022, is a simple concept executed well. It's a bullet hell type game where enemies come at you from all corners of the map with increasing speed, and your character attacks them automatically. Your only task is to move out of danger's way and pick up experience gems to level up your character, or pick up treasure chests that give you between 1 and 5 item levels, or sometimes a superpowered item. When you level up, you can choose to power up one of your existing weapons, choose a brand new additional weapon, or select a passive bonus like increased defense, experience gain, strength, firing speed, that kind of thing. It's all about finding balance and a build that works for you. I enjoy that the turn that Vampire Survivor takes, however, after a few stages. It turns out there's a being watching over you, shepherding your movements. A king in yellow whose hands are the only 3D objects in the game, which applauds you for coming so far and challenges you to go further. When I first hit this point in the game, I darn near turned my computer off. I was so scared. My brother later hit this point and he came to me just as bewildered. We had to both suss out if the other had seen this or if we were like spoiling something for each other. But as soon as we figured out that, the other one knew, we couldn't stop babbling about it. It's an exciting way to usher in the next portion of the game when the player can now collect items that give them a chance to defeat the time limit enforcing death that comes at the end of each level. With enough power, one can kill even death, although stronger, more immortal foes do still exist. That's part of what makes Vampire Survivors fun. There's always another carrot to chase. Did you get the artifact on that level? Did you max out your items on that run? Did you find the survivor at the end of the level and unlock them as a playable character? Well, good. Now try to beat that game on hyper mode or hurry mode or inverted, where the map is backwards and all the enemies are tougher. You can also power up your characters permanently through the power-up menu and give them lasting levels in luck, strength, defense, everything you need to survive just a little bit longer in your runs. You can even buy rerolls to try for different power-ups so that you can get something new instead of what the game gives you as your default 3 or 4 picks. You can go about the game in 2 ways, from what I've experienced and the general vibe I get from folks who also play it. You can pace yourself and just play a run or two, as the stages of the game rarely last over 30 minutes. Pop in, get the items you like, power yourself up, and try to beat a level in 30 minutes or less. Or, if you haven't got the time, you can switch on hurry mode to cut that time in half and have all the stages' waves of enemies come at you twice as fast. I do this on days where I'm feeling a little down, I want to fill a pocket of time with some fun. Maybe I'm eating dinner and I don't want to jump right into video editing, so I'll go unlock a secret character or get a few golden eggs in a level that permanently powers up a character I like. Then there's what I did when I first started the game, which is what I assume most people do when they play Vampire Survivors. You say to yourself, I'll just do one run and be done with it. And then you play the game for a few hours and you wonder where the time went. Maybe it's my ADD, but I stuck to Vampire Survivors like glue when I first started it because there are just so many little things to do. Every run in the beginning gets you something new and fun. A new weapon to try, a new character to play with, a new map to explore, new enemies to fight, or new arcanas to enhance your build for the run. I didn't want to peel myself away from the game because I was having too much fun. And maybe that did lead to me staying up late a few nights in a row. But I have to say, I'm glad I did. It's so rare these days that I play something solely just for fun. It's rare that I do anything just for fun because there's so much that has to be done that it's hard to justify spending a moment on myself when I could be helping my family. This is the first time since playing Animal Crossing Wild World on my DS as a kid that I feel like I have something I can retreat into for a little while. A comfortable little world that I can make progress in, even if I didn't get very far in real life that day. And it's been a great experience to share with my brother too, who played it a ton when he first got it, and then has tapered back just as much as I have. We chat about it all the time. What arcanas do you use? What weapons do you use? Have you found this one secret thing yet? Where do you farm level ups? It's just great to have a common interest, especially for me, a streamer who can't talk much about the games that I play because I don't want anything spoiled for me. In the past, that made it really difficult to talk to my brother about what I was playing because it's hard to remember what happens at which points in a story, so games were off limits for discussion until I beat them. But now, we talk all the time about Vampire Survivors, when we're unloading the dishwasher or taking out the trash, when I help him tidy up his room or encourage him to take a walk or something, over breakfast in the morning or after my show in the late evening. It's kind of like we're kids again, talking about Earthbound or Super Mario RPG. So while it's an experience that not everybody's going to have with their family with Vampire Survivors, it's been such an integral part of my experience with the game that I wanted to share it with you all. Now on to the soundtrack. The music in Vampire Survivors works to keep you going through each level, even as it repeats over the course of the stage. The composers for the game include Danielle Zandara, Filippo Vicarelli, William Davies, and Lorenzo Floro, but I was only able to find information on the first 2. I was interested to see, however, that Vicarelli worked on several other soundtracks, like Melatonin, the rhythm-based game, Night Brawl, and Rowdy City. On to the actual music, though. One of my favorite games is one I don't actually hear too often because it's a song tied to a character that I very rarely play as. The song is called Pagey 18, the theme for Conchetta Cacciota, which is a batwing guitar player. Of course, the title for this one is a play on Peggy 18, which is a rating, kind of like ESRB here in the United States. So the song has kind of a vampire club feel to it, with synthesized vocals and a very present bass and drum kick. Another one of my favorite songs is You Only Happen Once for the Astral Stair stage. It's a new addition to the game that combines the retro synth organs, drum and bass, a funky guitar, and a few tickles of the piano. What I love about the song is tied into the stage experience. The enemies of the stage change colors with the music, so when the beat drops, you know trouble's coming at you. The last track that I want to highlight is the orchestrated Tides of Ascari song. Yes, this $5 game has a fully orchestrated track for one of its DLC levels, and it is very good. There's a sweeping grandeur to it, a feeling of fantasy and magic, the excitement of starting out on a daunting new adventure. It's so big and so present that it completely commands the stage. Vampire Survivors has been my comfy game this year. It's kind of like an old hoodie I can slip on when I'm feeling a little burnt out and I need something fun to do that won't take too much time. So, if you're looking for a game that's got near endless unlockables, a fun retro-inspired soundtrack, and gameplay that's not too taxing on the hands, Vampire Survivors is for you. You know, the responses to last episode's question, interestingly enough, highlighted how magical it can be to share a game with someone else, and how that experience can make games even more special in our memories. That and my experience of playing Vampire Survivors alongside of my brother has got me thinking, what was the most fun you had playing a video game with somebody else? It could be party games, fighting games, single-player games that you play co-op with friends or family, or, of course, MMORPGs. But tell me about your experiences playing a game with somebody else. If you'd like to respond, you have a few options. You can respond to the tweet that I'm going to put out, or you could tweet directly at Games in the Glade on Twitter using the GITGasks hashtag. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can leave a comment below the video. That's all I have for you today. There will be more news and reviews another time, so keep an eye out for updates in your favorite podcatcher or on YouTube, and follow the show's Twitter account at Games in the Glade for more. This podcast is supported by Friends of the Forest on Patreon, a link for which I will leave in the description. Thank you to Puddles of Infinity for the use of their song, Porches and Universes, and thank you to Titsay for the beautiful album art. And even though our time together is coming to an end, you can always find your way back here, my world-worn weary friend. There's a spot here in the clearing, in the quietude and shade, for you to relax a while and listen to Games in the Glade.